G'day viewers, this is the news. The Train Sim World 3 roadmap for November 2022, and I hope you've got a cuppa because it's quite a big one. We will start with why I read this out. It's to improve accessibility of the information for those who can't read the article or who don't have time to go through the whole thing and just want to listen to it. So let's start with the TLDR, too long, didn't read summary. It's kind of funny to me that they actually have to spell out what TLDR means, because, you know. Anyway, a quick summary for those that don't want to go through the whole article. There are more details on all these points within the roadmap. Birmingham Cross-City announced coming November 15. Check out below for an exclusive first look at the BR Class 323, and there's a YouTube video on the Train Sim World channel. Go look it up. A new Dovetail Games US route has been added to the roadmap, but not identified. A new Train Sim Germany route has been added to the roadmap, and similarly not identified. A new Journeys add-on released for all players. First save game update released, significant improvement on red lights on resuming and dispatcher issues. First derailment issues update has been released, with more being worked on. Deep dive on auto testing and its application within our overall testing process. Batch of performance improvements coming in the next game update. The BR Class 20 is coming to Livery Designer. Union Workshop joined the partner program, bringing their wealth of Chinese rail expertise to Train Sim World. Now, Union also do Japanese, so I'm kind of hoping, maybe get some Japanese stuff. I like the Japanese trains. Train Sim World 3 is now available in the boxed edition on Game and Amazon. That's for you old-fashioned people that like discs, even though it updates and downloads an update the first time you run it anyway. So what we've got now is a slide which is detailing mostly the same information actually, so I'm not going to read through it because it will be covered with everything else that we go through in the long roadmap. So let's get into that now. Now the only difference here is we do have the codes for the German route, so that looks like fairly recent diesel, and the US loco fairly recent electric. The UK route fairly recent diesel, could be. Not sure on that one actually. And there's the German route that's already covered. It's the same one over there. No, actually, no, it's not. That's two German routes then. Okay, so TSG and that other German route. There's two German routes coming. Right. Good-o. And we've got the BR420, the long promised, yet delivered. It'll come. I know he's actually working on other stuff for Dovetail, which is why it hasn't happened. Alright, let's get into the main roadmap. Welcome to November's roadmap. The nights are drawing in and the temperatures are dropping. Not in Australia. Another way. But we have a warm blanket of an update for you to wrap yourselves in, as well as adding a new first-party American route and TSG's first route for Train Sim World. There's a whole host of new content, including a first look at the Birmingham Cross-City's BR Class 323 in action, plus an interview with a member of the beta community has helped make it happen, updates on core improvements, a new member of the partner program, a new loco addition to Livery Designer, a deep dive into the possibilities of auto testing for Train Sim World 3. There's a lot to talk about. Let's grab some cocoa. Well, I've got my coffee, and don't worry about your logs on the fire, the heater's on. In case you're in the market for a Christmas present, the rail fan in your life, Train Sim World 3 is now available on Game UK and Amazon Global. Search Train Sim World 3 in your chosen platform. Fill your stockings. Birmingham Cross-City, a first look at the BR Class 323. Well, we've already had the first look. We've had a couple of teasers and we've had a big look. So, you know, and there's a video out too. Hopefully be aware to this point, Birmingham Cross-City is coming to Train Sim World 3 on November 15. So for this roadmap, I've got a little treat. Say hello to BR Class 323. So I assume they're going to play the video there, but the video's on YouTube. Go look at it yourselves. I'll end up with a copyright strike if I run it. As well as modelling the distinctive look of the 323, we've taken great pains to source the authentic audio, replicating the iconic sounds of the traction motors engaging and its unique whine. So we enlisted the help of one of our beta team who works for West Midlands Trains. We spoke to Daisy to find out more about how she's helped us with the Cross-City route and how, with her unwavering help, we've sourced reference and sounds for the 323. So this is in the form of an interview, so this might sound a little weird, but I'll read it as it is. What is your job title? I've been a train guard senior conductor for West Midlands Trains, formerly London Midland, for 7+ years, and my job involves opening and closing the train doors at stations, checking that the train is safe to depart, dealing with the safe running of the train and the safety of passengers. I also check and sell tickets and make announcements. What is your history with Train Simulator and Train Sim World? Let me just say it's extensive. I've been a beta tester since 2013 and a subject matter expert, providing Dovetail with reference and information on different routes, photos, video recordings, examples, general detail, to make sure we try to provide the best and most authentic experience for players. And by reference, what kind of things have you been able to help with in the past? Started helping out with reference trips back in 2020 when I went out and recorded the Bakerloo Line 1972 stock whistles and one-person operation alarm. I own similar audio recording equipment Armstrong Powerhouse, who I've helped arrange official access to some of our train care depots, though I will say I don't like having to write risk assessments. I also helped get photographs of the Class 465-9 cab, which proved rather elusive when I tried to get the reference for the train art team. How have you been able to help with Birmingham Cross-City? I have probably been gathering reference for the route and train for maybe 5 years now. My Dropbox folder amasses nearly 70 gigs of photos and almost another 20 in audio, video and documentation. I even walked the canal section between Bourneville and Five Ways 2 or 3 times in each direction. My poor feet. With the sounds, they were a bit trickier. The way to get sounds on the move, the traction motors, is a closely guarded secret. But I did go to Soho Depot a few times to get picture and video reference along with all the static sounds required. I bought a Victoria's sponge cake from my friend and colleague Cliff, a Class 323 driver, and we spent probably 7 hours getting all the different tiny sounds a Class 323 can make. There are a few teensy things I wasn't able to record, such as the tiny quarter brake release noises when the regen brake kicks in while braking, but that's not possible due to where the valve is and how much wind noise is present. But on the whole, Cliff and I managed to capture everything. It's worth mentioning that there are 3 fans in the cab. Cab air conditioning, the main cab desk fan which blows around air, and the other cab is a circulation fan to make sure there is constant airflow to prevent condensation on the windows. As train crew, we can only control the desk fan and AC. The recirculation fan is constantly on, and we've made it a reasonable volume in the game, but as we have to listen to it for up to 5 hours in one sitting, we thought we'd let you all enjoy that same pleasure too. After recording audio from the train, the hard part comes. The audio team have been messaging me since way before the 323 began modelling, and we've had numerous calls to run through the nuances of the sounds they've been working on from the recording sessions. Trying to make a simulated train is no easy feat, and especially trying to get the audio to match up with something as difficult as the unique sound the 323s are known for. Most of the audio recordings were over an hour long, and trying to narrow down each little bit proved a little challenging at first. So I went through all the files and annotated what was happening at what timestamp. And to help the team further, I made little videos to demonstrate where certain sounds were coming from on the train. Hopefully what we've been able to achieve together will be appreciated. Soho Depot deserves a big nod to how much access they gave me. Anytime I asked for something, they gave it. For the train art and setup development teams, that has been immensely valuable. Another nod should go to 2 of my other friends and colleagues who I've been messaging at all hours to double check on performance and what should happen during X scenario, etc. Having real driver input alongside the train performance characteristics goes a long way. Station reference was a tricky task. On my days off from work, I walked around every small part of each station filming and taking pictures. 25 stations, which took about 30 to 90 minutes to walk around each, took many, many days. One thing is certain, walking definitely helps with weight loss. And finally, do you have any shout-outs? First up, the train art and setup teams. They've been massively receptive to any feedback I've given them and have delivered probably one of the most interactive trains in the simulators so far. There are some bits and pieces which will leave you, the player, to discover through either your own exploration or some scenarios. And next station, art. I've been talking to Mark, the lead artist for Cross-City, since the route's inception for TSW, and we've been working closely on a lot, and he's been working flat out to try and get the stations looking their best. He's done an amazing job and has a good team supporting. Track and signalling is a very underappreciated part of route development, and these guys have done a stand-up job. All the gradients, super elevation signal sequences are pretty spot on. We've actually set the route a little into the future because after December of this year, New Street Station's final signalling upgrade work should be complete, so we've set all the signals and track speeds to what they will be in a month or so's time. Timetable and gameplay. The timetable engineer has listened to feedback and suggestions and taken pretty much every one of them on board. We're using a late 2019 timetable with the high-frequency service the Cross-City line is known for. The reason for the slight mismatch in route and timetable is to make sure you aren't waiting on platforms for 20 minutes for a train to arrive. The gameplay team have also been amazingly receptive to my personal experiences at work and have implemented some pretty cool scenarios. There's a lot more to do and see on these scenarios than the ones I've personally played in the past. Finally, a big thank you to Daisy and the rest of the WMR team, who have been great to work with on building this route and providing as authentic an experience as possible for players. I've got to say I've interacted with Daisy quite a bit over the last few years. She is an awesome human. So very, very dedicated to the cause. For those visiting the Worley National Model Railway Exhibition on November 26-27th, we'll be exhibiting Train Sim World 3 with Birmingham Cross-City playable and at Lord's Glory. If you're coming along, please come and say hi. There will be more information on the route in the coming days, including a timetable and layers article, as well as We Are Railfans article giving more detail on the history of the Licky Incline. And don't forget, you can get a live stream preview next Thursday, that's today. Put it in your diaries. Next Thursday. It's not today, that's next week. Sorry. Train Sim World 3 Core Improvements. A progress summary on the core improvements the teams are working on. This month we have updates on Save Game, Add-ons Manager, UI and Settings, Performance and Derailing. For the Save Game, earlier this month we released the first batch of core improvements for Save Game, preventing red lights on restart of a saved game and allowing services to be completed, and this has had positive feedback from players. Thanks to everyone who has confirmed things are working for you since the update. We will, as a result, in a future update, be looking to turn save game on again as the default option. A toggle will be available if you'd like it to remain off. There is more to be done, and these will be addressed on a case-by-case basis, for example train setup and remaining exactly the same after a save game has been resumed, which will need to be looked at for each individual train. When we have more on these, we'll update you. If you do experience an issue with save game, please report it on the save game thread and we'll use it as the basis for investigations. Testing will start on the TSW3 version of Add-ons Manager soon. It has taken longer than we would have wanted, and this is due to a number of factors. The team remain committed to getting it into your hands as soon as we can, as we know PS5 players are playing add-on Tetris at the moment and aren't able to get the full experience we want. In short, the infrastructure for Add-ons Manager can be ported directly from Train Sim World 2's version of the Add-ons Manager, which is why we wanted to make sure we got that out in full first, but there is an extra body of work which will map that to the new TSW3 UI, particularly the new menu screens you see not present within TSW2. That is currently being completed before being sent through to our QA and beta teams to review. We know this has been said a lot, but thank you for your continued patience. As a side note, as we are using the same infrastructure, all mods that currently work since TSW2's add-ons update should work within TSW3's version of Add-ons Manager. UI Settings Toggles. Over the course of several updates, we're continuing to refine the user interface of TSW3, as well as some of our longer-term aspirations, saving your sort by settings, using special characters in the search bar when the EN equivalent is used, and changing the colour of the selected option from grey to something more distinct. In the next update, there is a series of smaller improvements to help improve your experience. Keep sending through your suggestions, and if you would like to request an accessibility option or particularly struggle with any features of the UI, menus, screens and inputs and outputs, then please let us know on this accessibility options forum thread and we'll take a look at how we can improve them. I have seen a note on that they only want real accessibility issues. They don't want people saying, I just want it to be yellow. They want to know why, and they want to know why it's going to impact you. Performance improvements. We know good performance is a reasonable expectation for you when playing our games, so we will be continuing to look at ways we can improve your experience going forward. As well as using auto-testing to identify where there may be problem areas, see the auto-testing section below for more details, in upcoming content the engineering and special projects teams are looking at ways that we can optimise memory and performance for existing content too. Here are some areas we're currently investigating. Lights on AI doppelstock wagons, the BR182, Ruhrsieg Nord and Main Spessart Bahn, were causing big frame rate dips, fixed in the next game update. Certain custom liveries causing frame rate issues are under investigation. If you are experiencing performance issues and have multiple custom liveries enabled, we recommend removing them and adding just one per route as a temporary measure. Frame rate drops and stutters when first rotating the camera on a new route is improved with the next update. Back-end improvements for locos with complex physics, i.e. Cajon Pass ES44C4, improved with the next update. Stalling when connecting long contests of 90 plus length, improved in the next update. Steam only, crashing on exit, fixed with the next update. As well as this, we believe that Add-ons Manager will improve performance for those with lots of add-ons installed. It's not a game changer, but it should improve things. As we continue to improve performance, you'll find out updates in our release notes and future roadmap articles. Derailing issues. A quick update on a series of distinct derailing issues we could see players experiencing. Since last month's roadmap, we've released the first of 3 potential improvements over the past week, dealing with derailments whilst in motion. We've seen positive feedback thus far, which means we can move on to the second and third improvements, which will be longer term improvements. These will cover derailing when sharply braking, derailing when coupling, which has also been connected to buffers. Once we've completed these, we'll check for any further problems and address these on a case-by-case basis. Like Save Game, we want to provide core updates which we believe will fix most problems before targeting other improvements. It's super helpful for us as we start to review individual instances and what might be causing these for your input. If you've experienced an unexpected derailment, do you ever expect a derailment? Please head to our derailment forum thread and let us know, using the prompt we've mentioned in a thread title to post us with as much information as you can. Special Projects Team Update. Last time, on October's roadmap, we told you about the Preservation Crew team's move to become the Special Projects team. Here's a quick summary of what they're up to, as well as some more Livery Designer news. The team's focus is to target high impact and highly requested improvements for players from our back catalogue, and here are some areas they've been looking at recently. Peninsula Corridor and Oakville Subdivision timetables. Progress has been made on the issues preventing them from being simulated. We're now moving forward again to get these updates ready for release. Rebuilding all grade crossings on Peninsula Corridor to resolve reported issues has been released. Fixed metal thresholds on introductions allowing gold to be achieved for the Southeastern High-Speed Hopstreck, Munchkin, Augsburg, Cane Creek, Bakerloo, and are currently in a build for the next update. Minor tweaks to scenery around Cheyenne Turntable on Sherman Hill have been released. Achievements not unlocking for the DBBR187, Noverka Dresden, Oakville Subdivision, Spirit of Steam, Horseshoe Curve are currently investigating. Last month we also updated you on the progress of HST going into Livery Designer. Quick update, it has passed internal reviews and the coaches are having their issues fixed. Here are some of the images of the testing so far. That's a very colourful train. Actually, it's nice that it looks like you can do the coaches individually. That's cool. No Matt Pedalstons were harmed in the making of the pink carriages. We also have something else to whet your appetites. The Class 20 is coming to Livery Designer. Here it is in action. Something people have been asking for a while. And that's a work in progress. Livery Designer functionality has been added and similarly passed internal review. You can see the current status in the pictures above. It is now within our QA team and beta testers. We'll update you with more in future roadmaps. TSW3 Preservation Crew updates. Finally in this section, a quick review on the outstanding TSW2 Preservation Crew updates. We are targeting these in a couple of batches, with the aim for at least one to be out this side of Christmas. As ever, you can find out when they're live in our roadmap articles by clicking here in our announcement forums. Third-party developer partner program update. Last roadmap, we added Rivet Games' upcoming route. More details will come in the future around what they're working on. This roadmap, we've added in Train Sim Germany, TSG's first route for Train Sim World. As with Rivet, you can expect more details in due course, but we're really excited to help bring their content to the game. In other news, initial work with the team at Alan Thompson Simulations has been going well. At this stage, they are honing in on what content they'd like to target first and are getting up to speed with our tools. So we wouldn't expect to confirm their first project for a long time yet. Finally, some big news. We teased you last week with news that another partner was joining our ranks, bringing with them another country for players to enjoy. Well, we are delighted to announce that Union Workshop, after building a number of exciting Chinese routes for Train Simulator Classic, will be bringing their expertise to TSW3. They have a dedicated team working on TSW3 content, and we're really excited to see what they can bring to the table. Union also do Japanese, so I'm kind of hoping. I like Japanese trains. Auto Testing Deep Dive. Last month we promised you a deeper insight into the world of auto testing. A new tool we've developed to improve our ability to grind through large testing pools, such as 1,000+ services in a route. We've asked Matt to put together a summary of what this is, what it will enable us to do, and what impact it's had on Cross-City, the first route that this has been used for. It's a long read, but hopefully you'll find it interesting. Conventional testing involves following a sequence of actions and verifying the desired outcomes along the way and the conclusion at the end, such as playing a scenario or service. While this is a straightforward way of testing a product, it starts to become problematic as the number of scenarios, services and locos plus the complexity of routes and signalling increase. You're not just testing 5 scenarios, you're facing testing 1,400 services, saving and resuming at different points, trying to spawn on foot at different times in the day with 5-minute increments. That's up to 144 spawn times to test and make sure they work correctly. Throw in variable weather with variable adhesion on top of all that. Mix in 7 different platforms with varying sizes and shapes, and what you're left with is a harsh reality that if you're going to do this all by hand, then all you can really do is pick a broad set of representative elements and do your best. The way to solve this is automated testing. Computers are great at winding their way through big, tedious challenges constantly, overnight, all weekend, all month if you need it, constantly doing things until it's all done. And if you need it faster, just throw in more computing resource at it. When combined with the human subjective element of testing, it can prove a great combination. One area that we've been developing internally for some time now with a dedicated engineer is in the area of automated testing. You can't just automatically test the sim, because there's so many different ways to play, different facets that need to be looked at, so one of the challenges has been breaking the problem down to get answers to specific questions or pick specific areas to get visibility of which might then focus the development effort more usefully and efficiently. So far we have 3 different auto testing suites in operation, all very much under constant development because every question answered yields 2 more questions that need to be considered. Suite 1, Performance and Memory. We started this journey by wanting to understand the frame rate at all different spawn on foot locations. So the first auto test process spawns in at each location, lets the frame rate settle, and then captures the FPS, a screenshot, and the free memory at that point. It produces a nice graph showing the change in FPS and memory over time, as well as so we can see there's been a sudden loss or gain, and the team can use that feedback immediately to understand if a recent change has had a negative impact. As an example, on the Cross-City route, we had a case where the frame rate suddenly went down a great deal on all platforms and at all spawn points, and in some cases as low as 2 frames a second. The tool meant that in one test session overnight, we could see it was not localized to one area, it was not localized to one platform, it was across everything. The team investigated and found a problem with some materials being used, and the next test run after that confirmed that all the frameworks were back to a reasonable count again. This saved hours, perhaps days of testing that could be used elsewhere. And we have a screenshot of some auto testing results. These frame rates look like the ones I get. It's also the list of stations from from Cross-City. Alverchurch, Aston, Bart Green, Birmingham New Street, Blake Street, Bourneville, Bromsgrove, Butlers Lane, Chester Road, Duddeston, Erdington, Five Ways, Four Oaks, Gravelly Hill, Kings Norton, Lichfield City, Lichfield Trent Valley, Longbridge, Northfield, Redditch, Selly Oak, Shenstone, Soho Depot, Sutton Coldfield, University and Wild Green. The auto-testing results of the FPS on Cross-City across the spawn points on PS4. This also highlights another useful benefit of automatic testing: consistency. Every test, every day, every route, every spawn point on every platform is always the same test in the same circumstances, so any change can be fairly ranked against the previous values rather than being stuck in a questionable state of where it might be different hardware or different trains loaded or different things that have been done on the computer prior to testing, etc. This way of testing eliminates all of that uncertainty, greatly speeding up the process of diagnosis. It is worth noting at this point that for consistency purposes, these tests are conducted on platforms with no add-ons installed. This is something we'll be investigating in the future. Suite 2, Resource Usage. The next challenge that was given to the auto testing engineer was to try and understand what the complexity of the scenes were going to be, how many objects, materials, textures, polygons and so forth were in the various 1 kilometre tiles that make up the routes. This was answered by the automatic production of a series of graphs and tables which show you where the busiest tiles and graphs the entire route, so you can spot any tiles that look too overpopulated. We've used this to identify where we can be more efficient with all these types of resource, sharing more materials, finding and removing duplication and so forth. All this helps improve that overall free memory count in the first set of tests too. And more memory that's free after the route is loaded means more trains can be loaded too. Just showing a graph of actors, whatever actors may be, actors per tile. For southeastern high speed, an indication of highly populated areas of resources. That's what that graph was. Suite 3, Service Mode Overview. The latest auto tester that we've developed is related to service mode timetables. During the development of a service mode timetable, the whole thing is run end-to-end in something called a timetable simulator. This runs the timetable many times faster than normal speed from start to finish and in its entirety. It can take 2 to 4 hours to run the whole thing, which is infinitely quicker than a human tested individually running those services. There are 2 goals from this. On a practical level, it saves out all the data needed to allow the timetable to spawn in at any point, putting all the trains in the right place for that moment of time. The second goal is a degree of auto-testing in its own right. Since it proves that all the trains can complete their tasks, and also reports how long trains spend at red lights and so forth, it's not quite the same as players running a timetable because we all drive differently, but it gives a good indication that the complete timetable should work at least in most cases, regardless of how complex or how many services there are. Where we've seen challenges, however, is with the growing number of timetables, the growing range of locomotives that can swap in, and the strong desire to still go in and make improvements and fixes to core aspects of the game related to physics and the dispatching systems. You can get into a position that you're facing a 5-minute fix to the dispatcher that requires potentially months of retesting all timetables to evaluate if there's been any impact. Sometimes there have been cases where even after extensive testing there have been side effects which badly impacted a timetable, but were still not able to be spotted prior to release because it's simply impossible to retest all those timetables at this point by hand. Here comes the latest auto tester, whose sole job is to simply run every single timetable simulation with the latest version of code and trains over and over repeatedly. Once it gets to the end of the list of routes, it just starts again. So this one's running through all of the different timetables. I'm just doing a run down the list of routes. Quite a few in there. Yeah, some different names for some of them, but I don't think there's any routes that we don't really know about in there. So that's okay. As you can see in this timetable, while not all routes are in the tester yet, we can see one has failed its latest run, and we're now able to go back and look at logs and find out why. This means we're able to observe that a timetable somewhere in the game has stopped being able to be completed following a change, usually within 24 to 48 hours of that change going in, which is unprecedented visibility for the team to see what's going on and react to it. What next? We have many challenges for the auto testing environment, things that are still in their early stages. One test system we want to implement would not just run the timetable from start to finish, but literally play every service from start to finish. Another would drive the route from end to end, recording a graph of FPS and memory to give even more insight into frame rates and RAM usage throughout the route and how they might be experienced across all the platforms, allowing us to find problems and optimize the sim with surgical precision. These systems take a lot of time to develop, but they are proving their worth, and we are set to continue expanding their usage. Bit more roadmap, DTG releases, forthcoming add-ons that are being developed by Dovetail Games, the usual details. So there's Birmingham Cross-City, a DE route, a US route, and a US loco. The US route and Birmingham Cross-City are new to the list. Partner program releases. UK route being developed by Rivet. Newly added is a German route being developed by TSG. And the BR420 is still here one day. Core features are larger projects. These may be significantly new pieces of functionality or changes that will affect players on one of several platforms, often requiring more time development. This list may move slowly. And there's been no changes. We've still got the add-ons manager, derailing improvements, save game improvements, red light dispatcher improvements, and performance optimization. Miscellaneous projects that players will notice but don't fall into the other categories. Rush Hour Passenger from London Commuter, Spirit of Steam, Manual Fireman. So not much movement there yet. Special projects team, projects that are being tackled by the preservation crew. It's all the same ones from last month. Looks almost all the same. There's one new one there, Class 20 Livery Designer functionality. And the rest of the list is the HST Livery Designer, DB187 Audio Improvements, Scottish Commuter, Hopstreg Hamburg Lubeck, including timetable update, Rhine-Ruhr Osten, 2022 Bakerloo timetable, Long Island Railroad, Peninsula Corridor, and note there are further improvements to come, Oakville Subdivision, and LGV Mediterranean. Things that have been removed from the roadmap. New Journeys has been released. The Silver 1972 stock CSX SD40 and Colne S-Bahn BR423. Batch 1 of save game improvements has been released. Derailing improvements while in motion has been released. And that's it for the November 2022 roadmap update for Train Sim World. If you're still here, wow, that was a big read. And looking over there, yes, it's still recording it. I was a little bit worried that was so long. Anyway, thanks very much for being around. If you find this useful, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you like, and perhaps even consider joining to help support the future of this channel. Alrighty, thanks a lot. Enjoy yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Bye.